I think before I start, let me add some information about myself. My name is Uchina, with the family name first. The pronunciation is exactly the same as how Ryukyu people refer to themselves as Uchina. Whenever Ryukyu people say my name, they are very friendly toward me. This coincidence was one of the starting points of my interest in Ryukyu. My academic interest in Ryukyu comes from my research on the political history of Asian ethnic groups, where there are common values in how Asian perceive state relations, intergroup relations. Chinese civilization is an original civilization of East Asia, while Korean, Japanese, and Ryukyu civilizations are secondary or peripheral civilizations. The Ryukyu Islands are located in the Western Pacific, southeast of China, and southwest of Japan. Culturally, the Ryukyu Islands have kinship with Japan, but this connection existed before the formation of ancient states. During the archaeological period, after the Common Era, Japan, influenced by the Chinese civilization, began to form a state, whereas at the same time, the Ryukyu Islands were in tribal chiefdom state. In the 13th century, several Asian states emerged in Ryukyu, and by the 14th century, all had established tributary relations with Ming Dynasty China. Let's talk about the tributary system. In the 14th century, the Ming Dynasty of China established a tributary system centered on China with surrounding land and maritime countries. With the exception of Japan, this system was fundamentally different from European feudal tributary system and European suzerain colony model during the period of colonial expansion. The tributary system centered on China during the Ming and Qing dynasties, that's before 14th century to the late 19th century, appeared unequal on the surface, but was actually equal in content. Today's United Nations system appears to grant full sovereignty to all states, but it is actually unequal. With the Ming and Qing tributary system, tributary countries offers native products to China, but receives gifts worth several to dozens of times more in return. In practice, China engaged in unequal trade with tributary states to maintain geopolitical stability, with the tributary state being the beneficiaries. Politically, tributary state respected China's prestige, while China did not interfere in their internal affairs. In the case of Ryukyu, Japan rose at the end of the 13th century, challenging China's central position in East Asia and threatening China's maritime traffic and trade security. For 14th century China, it was necessary to ensure maritime security and prevent threats from Japan. Therefore, the Ming Dynasty offered a favorable trade condition to Ryukyu, provided the most advanced ship of the time, and even directly sent shipbuilding technology and complete technical personnel to Ryukyu. Furthermore, the Ming Dynasty granted Ryukyu at the trade benefit of the Western Pacific. From the Korean Peninsula to the Strait of Malacca, making Ryukyu the Ming Dynasty trade agent without requiring profit sharing, only responsible for reporting the movement of Japanese pirates. With the support of Ming navigation technology, the Ryukyu Islands were able to unify internally and become the trade center in the Western Pacific, becoming the wealthiest country in the region. From the 14th century until 1879, Ryukyu overall benefited from its relationship with Ming and Qing China. This relationship aroused Japan's jealousy, In 1609, the Satsuma domain attacked and controlled Ryukyu, but did not inform China. Instead, they keeping Ryukyu in a state as a Chinese tributary. Japan demanded that Ryukyu hand over half of the gifts received from China and provide about 1/3 of its agriculture and handicraft products. When envoys from the Ming and later Qing arrived in Ryukyu, Japan required Ryukyu to pretend to be politically and economically independent, not under Japanese control. Japan did this to continue obtaining economic benefits from China. In the 19th century, the Ryukyu Kingdom signed trade treaties with the United States, France, and Netherlands, and other countries with China's endorsement, that establishing Ryukyu's status under the modern international law. But Japan selected parts of Western European modern sovereignty state theory that were advantageous to itself. In 1874, it began to claim sovereignty over the Ryukyu Islands and used this as a pretext to attack tribes on Taiwan, a Chinese island province. In 1879, Japan attacked the capital of the Ryukyu Kingdom, captured the Ryukyu king, annexed the Ryukyu, and turned this island into a prefecture of Japan, renaming it Okinawa. This is the Japanese pronunciation of Uchina. From a cultural perspective, the Ryukyu people are undoubtedly the indigenous inhabitants of Ryukyu Islands and the citizens of Ryukyu Kingdom. Ryukyu culture shares the kinship with the culture of Japanese archipelago, but long before the formation of ancient Japanese state and ancient Ryukyu Kingdom, they both had already developed independently. The Ryukyuan language has grammatical similarities with Japanese, but there are significant differences in vocabulary and phonology, that making it unquestionably an independent language separate from Japanese. Ryukyu not only had the traditional political independence, but its value system and cultural ecology were also vastly different from Japan. The early modern Ryukyu Kingdom was formed through interaction with early modern China, Korea, Malacca, Japan, and other countries. Its unique political traditions, political identity, independent international market, historical experiences, and collective memory were all distinct from Japan. Japan annexed Ryukyu in 1879 without the consent of Ryukyuan people. On the contrary, there are many examples of Ryukyuan intellectuals committing suicide to protest Japanese aggression. Japanese rule over Ryukyu was not an equal governance, but treat Ryukyuans as second-class citizens, discriminated against them, attempt to eradicate their language and culture, and sacrifice Ryukyuan lives in life or death situations. After 1949, American rule over Ryukyu was similarly discriminatory. When administrative authority over Ryukyu was handed back to Japan, the Japanese government continued the policy that demanded the sort of eradicate Ryukyu culture. Ryukyu-born people faced discrimination within Japanese society and even within the Ryukyu Islands themselves. Ryukyuan language is now on the brink of extinction. Recognizing the Ryukyuan people as the indigenous people and protecting their rights is not only legitimate, but necessary. I believe that the current situation in Ryukyu Islands shows that the world order established after the World War II has not been fairly upheld. The provocative remarks the Japanese Prime Minister Takaichi are a tantamount to challenging the post-war world order, challenging the United Nations framework, challenging the international law, and challenging the treaties between Japan and China. The provocations by Japanese politicians against the sovereignty and neighboring countries, as well as against the post-war rule in Japan, should not possess the nuclear weapons that have caused panic in East Asian countries and also trample the international community's consensus on the issues of denuclearization. Japan's action misled Asian countries and even countries outside the region into thinking that violating international law and international consensus results in the dispute between nations through force or interfering in other countries' internal affairs and the protest of national survival are acceptable approaches. As I previously mentioned, fundamentally, the dispute between China and Japan stemmed from the fact that the post-World War II order was not upheld in Asia. Unlike Germany in Europe, some Japanese politicians and civilians are unwilling to accept the outcome of Japan's defeat, politically unwilling to acknowledge that Japan was defeated by the Chinese people. This results in Japan still having a sense of superiority when dealing with China and other Asian countries, and being unable to restrain its impulse to dominate Asian affairs again.
大家好，我是主播周玉琴。很多的朋友告诉我们，太阳星全效克菲尔益生菌帮助了睡眠品质。原版的太阳星全效克菲尔益生菌，它添加有超级食物羽衣甘蓝，健康再加分。而有睡眠困扰的朋友们，赶快选择蓝色包装这一款晚安加强版，绝对是更有感。每日克菲尔，时刻美好 ，Good Feel Good。请上快点购为健康下单，而且要记得输入推荐代码，有额外的折扣优惠。太阳星全效克菲尔益生菌基础版、晚安加强版新包装改版，内容不变，抽取更方便。要吃就吃最好的。